So, when you hear the word hacking, what's the first thing you picture? Probably some person in a dark room furiously typing away at lines of green code, right? Well, the reality is, it's a lot more methodical than that. Hacking isn't just chaos, it's a structured process, almost like a military operation. And today, we're going to open up the official playbook and see exactly how it's done.
All right, let's kick things off with a little inside baseball from the pros. There's what the textbooks teach you, and then there's how things really work out in the field. This quote just nails that feeling perfectly. So for this explainer, we're going to cover both, the official framework you need to know and the clever, real-world tactics that actually bring it to life.
So, what is this playbook we're talking about? Well, it's not just a random collection of tricks and exploits. It's a formal, multi-stage process that's designed to be thorough, to be careful, and most importantly, to be repeatable when you're testing a system's defenses.
And here it is. This is the 5-phase roadmap for pretty much every professional hack out there. It all starts with reconnaissance. Then you move into scanning. Phase 3 is gaining access, the break-in. After that, it's all about maintaining that access and finally, covering your tracks so no one knows you were there. We're going to walk through this playbook, step by step.
First up, the prep work. You know, before a single line of malicious code ever gets written, a hacker has to do their homework. This is the intelligence gathering phase. It's all about learning everything, and I mean everything you can about your target.
An attack doesn't just start with a bang. It starts with patience. It's like a predator stalking its prey. A hacker just starts by watching. They learn a company's rhythms, they identify who the key people are, and they map out the technology being used, all while staying completely invisible.
Now, this reconnaissance phase is really split into two flavors. On one hand, you've got passive recon. This is pure observation. You are not touching the target's systems at all. Think digging through public records, checking social media, even good old-fashioned dumpster diving. Then you have active recon. This is when you start, poking the bear. You're actually interacting with the target, maybe making a call to the help desk to fish for information. The big difference? With active recon, you risk setting off an alarm.
So once all that observation is done, the hacker shifts gears from just watching to actively probing. And I love this analogy of noodling for catfish. It's a really slow, deliberate process of reaching into the dark corners of a network, just kind of feeling around to see what bites back. What gives you a signal that there's a weakness?
So how do they noodle? Well, one of the main ways is through something called port scanning. See, every service running on a computer, like a website or an email server, listens on a specific numbered port. A port scan is basically like walking down a long hallway and checking every single door to see which ones are unlocked. And every open port you find is a potential way in. And that brings us to phase 3, gaining access. This is the moment you see in the movies, right? This is where all the information that's been gathered so far is used to exploit a weakness and actually get inside the system. And more often than not, that weak link is just a simple password.
So let's forget what you've seen in Hollywood. Hackers don't just magically guess your password in 3 tries. They use systematic, automated methods to break them, especially if they can get their hands on a stolen database of scrambled or hashed passwords.
Okay, so there are basically 3 main ways they do this. First up is a dictionary attack. It's simple. It just runs through a huge list of common words and phrases. Fast, but not super effective. Next, you have a hybrid attack, which is a bit smarter. It takes those dictionary words and starts swapping in symbols, like changing an A to an @ sign. But the ultimate weapon, that's the brute force attack. It's slow, sure, but it will try every single possible combination of characters until it finds a match. This is exactly why your simple password can be cracked in seconds.
And this quote right here, it highlights an inevitable, kind of scary truth about password security. With enough computing power and enough time, a brute force attack is basically unstoppable. The only real difference is to make that time required impossibly, ridiculously long. And that's why password length and complexity are so critical.
Getting in is only half the battle. A real professional attacker doesn't want a one-time visit. They want to set up shop. They want to make sure they can come back whenever they feel like it, all while staying completely undetected.
So how do they stay hidden? A huge tool in their arsenal is the rootkit. Think of it as an invisibility cloak. It says here it's designed to obscure the compromise. But what that really means is it digs its hooks deep into the operating system to hide the attacker's files, hide their processes, and hide their actions from the very people who run the system. It is literally like having a ghost in the machine.
But you don't always need a super complex rootkit. Attackers have some incredibly clever ways to hide their tools right in plain sight, using a little-known feature of the Windows file system to make a malicious program totally invisible. Just look at this command. It uses a built-in feature in Windows to basically attach an entire program, an executable file that can run code, to a totally harmless-looking text file. The text file looks completely normal. It even shows the same file size, but it's secretly carrying hidden malware. The attacker can then come back later and run that hidden program. It's a simple trick, and it's brutally effective. So far, we've been talking all about technology. Firewalls, passwords, file systems. But often the easiest way into a secure network isn't through a firewall, it's through a person. And this is the art of social engineering, or hacking the human mind. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? Why spend weeks trying to break some complex encryption when you can just manipulate someone into giving you their password? Social engineering completely exploits our fundamental human nature.
The reason this stuff is so effective is because it completely bypasses technology. Instead of attacking software, it attacks our own human instincts, our desire to be helpful, our trust, our curiosity. An attacker might call you, pretending to be from IT support, just hoping you'll be helpful and give them your password. Or they might drop a USB stick labeled 2024 salaries in the parking lot, counting on your curiosity to do the rest of the work for them.
And look, this isn't just some abstract corporate problem. The personal data that gets stolen through these kinds of hacks has very real consequences. It fuels identity theft, which affects over 14 million people in the US every single year. This is why understanding these tactics actually matters to all of us. And this quote right here, it gets to the absolute core of the problem. You can write all the security policies in the world, but an attacker doesn't work for your company. They don't care about your rules. A policy on its own is just a piece of paper. It is not a real defense.
Which brings us to our final thought. If technology can be broken and policies can be ignored, what's actually left? Your ultimate defense isn't a better firewall or a longer password. It's you. It's your awareness, your skepticism, and the simple act of pausing to think before you click. That is the human firewall.